Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel. We're here this week with Josh Williams to discuss if Liverpool and Arne Slot are in a crisis. Good morning, welcome back to the channel. Obviously we've got Josh Williams back on again, who was phenomenal last time, and yeah, he's really liked him on the channel. And again, thank you very much for the subscribers, by the way, in the last couple of months have been pretty insane. I was talking about it with my producer, and yeah, thank you very much. So hoping to keep that momentum going. Not too high-spirited in the old studio this morning. I think Josh has just had a little talk before we've come on, and we're going to speak about whether or not Liverpool are in sort of a crisis moment. Got a few stats to tell you off the top, which Liverpool have lost 5 of their last 11 Premier League matches this season, winning the other 6. The most defeats by a reigning champion at this stage of the season since Leicester in 16-17, and only Chelsea in 15-16 have ever lost more after 11 games of a Premier League season as reigning champions. So in terms of title defences, I'm not sure where Josh stands on this, and I will throw it on to him, but it looks like the title is pretty much gone to be retained this season. I think a lot of people are more focusing now on the top 4. But I think the main question that I want to ask you straight off the top is, how much of the blame do you think is really on the manager and after the last few weeks?
That's a difficult question, it really is. I mean, when you asked me last time, I think the first question you asked me, I remember saying, like, where do we start?
Yeah.
And this is the same. Like,
back to square one.
Honestly, yeah, I'd be really curious to know how much of the summer recruitment stemmed from what Arne Slot asked for. Because I think Liverpool have basically got worse because of the makeup of the squad. I think that the decision that we've made in the market, so far at least, it's difficult to judge this early, but Liverpool have quite clearly got worse over the course of the summer. And I think some of that has stemmed from the recruitment decisions. I think Slot I think he kind of obsessed at the back end of last season with low blocks. Yeah. Liverpool were facing low blocks all the time. And I think Liverpool have went into the summer thinking we need loads of solutions for that. And Richard Hughes has gone out and bought some Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz, 2 number 9s. There's your low block sorted. Yeah. But this season, it's just not that simple. There's far more to it than that. So the actual downfall of the side as champions, I think stems from the recruitments. And it's difficult to determine in this day and age how much of that is on Slot versus the sporting director versus, you know, whoever's involved.
As you like to call them.
The suits, yeah. I like to put a lot of weight on the suits. But they haven't done so well this summer.
No, it doesn't appear that way. I wanted to, so I think the number one thing that you were talking about there is the problems for me with Liverpool at the moment are actually not sort of similar, but they have the same sort of thing as Tottenham. So I spoke about this quite a lot, and when the ball is on the right side of your defence in build-up and you play Konate and Conor Bradley, and teams, I'll just explain what City were doing yesterday. So I think if the centre-halves are split, Erling Haaland was almost stood 90 degrees on, completely blocking the passes down your left-hand side. And we know that Virgil van Dijk and Andrew Robertson are 10 times better ball progressors than Konate and Conor Bradley. Now, what that means is when City were pushing high, they weren't actually putting that much ball pressure on Konate, and they were letting him almost clip the ball down the line to Salah, who was 1v1, and this basically leaves no option for Ibrahima Konate. And I think Conor Bradley has been a player who's actually, I saw him get a lot of scrutiny for the game against Jeremy Doku, who was absolutely outstanding, but to be honest,
what can you do?
What can you do? I was trying to speak about this with people online, and I was a bit like, that winger performance is almost one of them where you kind of hold your hands up and you go, listen, like, I don't know what type of right back you'd have to be to stop him on that day. But I think more or less the problems for Liverpool were on the ball. I think it was actually Foden who was stood on sort of this right central midfielder, and he weren't jumping. And then when the ball was played from Mamardashvili across, he basically then started to go and lock off the side so he'd get the ball right on the line, which is similar to what I highlighted with Spurs, who are very right-sided, build-up heavy, and they do it to their left side to make it go through Jed Spence, who's a bit more of he's a right-footed left-back for one. So what have you made of sort of Liverpool's problems in possession, not just from the midfield pairing, which we'll go on to speak about. We'll probably work ourselves up the team in the last few games. But I think against City, this was something that I thought was a real big issue.
Yeah, it was. This was an early problem. It's worth noting as well, Mamardashvili's left-footed. So for him to play in this direction is a little bit trickier than if it was Alisson as well. But this isn't the first time it's happened. I distinctly remember writing about Areola did this for Bournemouth at Anfield. Just blocked off Virgil. All the possession was going through Konate. I think he posted something like twice as many touches. But in the game, Konate actually posted an assist and was quite good on the ball. But at the same time, you also had Trent back then as well. So funneling the possession towards that side of the pitch made a bit more sense if, well, from a Liverpool perspective, we could cope if we had a quarterback there. But now it is just Konate and Bradley, who I do think are good players. And you know, but it was just really predictable from a Liverpool perspective. So for Liverpool to get out, escape their own half, establish a foothold in the game, they couldn't, because they couldn't get out their own half. So Konate would pass to Bradley often. Bradley would feed it down the line to Salah, and O'Reilly would just win the ball, or it'd go out for a throw-in, and you'd lose momentum. City would get the ball back, and then City would do what they did for most of the game, which is, you know, overloading the midfield, Doku coming inside. So City had the edge when it comes to Liverpool's possession, and then when City had the ball, they had their own edge in an attacking sense. So yeah, it was a bad game tactically. Like,
this is where, for me, Liverpool last season, when the team was sort of in a mid-block, were pushing up a little bit on triggers, and Liverpool were sort of playing in behind very quickly to players like Luis Diaz, Salah, Nunez, players like that. I think Liverpool have lost that directness and lost that angle on their possession. I'm gonna go through a little bit of what I mean by that. So last season, Liverpool in the entire 24-25 scored 10 direct goals, which is quite high for 38 games played, right? 11 games this season, they've only scored 1 direct goal, which already is really, really bad. But then if I just take it and I show you their line-breaking passes, Liverpool last season played 9.6 line-breaking passes in behind defensive line. So I'm not talking about Gravenberch getting on the ball and splitting maybe a midfield line. I'm talking a ball going from here, in behind the defensive line. Liverpool played this ball in behind the defensive line 9.6 times last season on average. This season, it's 5.4. Now, if I look at sort of the way Liverpool have played in these games building up to the City game, I don't think Wirtz started against Villa, did he?
No,
so I think they have been playing Wirtz as sort of that left winger, and he's more of, again, a ball-to-feet player. Salah is still being sort of relied on as that outball, that direct runner in behind, and I think Ekitike can do it. We saw the goal against Frankfurt, of course, sort of what he can do in transitions, but he's a little bit more drifting towards the ball. I think Liverpool this season, I think we discussed it last time, they are lacking so much directness in just the forward personnel in terms of what they're thinking of when the ball is with a midfielder or a centre half. Have you noticed sort of a massive drop off in what Liverpool can do in open play on the ball in these situations?
To be honest, I think I've noticed a massive drop off, just generally speaking, in attack.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to the whole package, really. Liverpool's still creating chances because they've still got lots of talent in there. But it's not really a particularly cohesive unit. Sometimes you would, again, going back to Trent, you'd have that kind of cheat code of going from your own defensive third to the final third in one pass. Sometimes the ball would be in behind. But yeah, it feels like Liverpool have almost used the transfer window just gone to prepare for a game that consists of basically a final third game, where the opposition are in front of you, you're trying to get in behind the blocks, you've got lots of ball-to-feet players. Even someone like Rio is a big talent, and Liverpool want to keep space for him, but he's never going to be a threat in behind Rio.
No.
Even though he seems quick, he's not like pacey, like running in behind and stuff like that. Wirtz as well, you know, the way of getting Wirtz in the team is being on the left, but as you say, he's a ball-to-feet player. Salah is slowing down a little bit, but he's still Liverpool's kind of, well, he's cheating when it comes to a position, like he's a bit of a rest attack kind of vibe.
If you're enjoying the video and want more tactical analysis and podcasts, please press the subscribe button below and hit the bell to enable post notifications. I think Slot said he watched like 350 games of City before the game. And they played exactly how they've played for like the last few weeks, and he didn't really have an answer to it. And it just seemed really bizarre to me how Liverpool sort of played, like let's say it was a 4-4-2 with these two in midfield. Their whole entire thing this season has been like dropping Nico Gonzalez into the middle, all of their wingers just sort of compacting in the middle of the shape like this around Haaland, playing really narrow, and then the fullback sort of playing here. I found it bizarre that he didn't sort of come up with a way, or he didn't think of a way to sort of do this, because he even assessed the game after it was played and said that, oh, you know, City, like, they like to get loads of people in the middle and congest the middle of the pitch out. And I was just thinking, well, why didn't you just maybe drop Szoboszlai in there, or maybe drop Wirtz into it? It was very, like, I don't know, a bit like tactically stubborn.
I wouldn't even use the word stubborn, I'd say naive.
Yeah, I just thought so you're just planning to get away with that.
That's what I thought similar. I saw him say that comment that he'd been watching plenty of City tapes and all that sort of thing. And what City did was not particularly new. Guardiola didn't come up with some kind of galaxy brain thing. You know, it was narrow inside forwards if you want. Doku playing narrower than he usually would in previous seasons. Foden dropping deeper to help with build up a little bit. Overlapping fullbacks being the three men. There was nothing particularly different that Liverpool shouldn't have been prepared for, but there was plenty of times. I was watching the clips on the way here, and there's a moment where I think Gvardiol has the ball, and is this Doku?
Yeah.
I think Doku was kind of like floating toward, you know, offering himself as a passing option, and Bradley's kind of here, and he's a bit like
in between.
He doesn't know whether to go or not, and Gravenberch's like a bit in touch with it. Doku's just behind Salah, so he's in that space where you don't really know where you are. Doku's in that space where is he Gravenberch's man, is he Salah's man, is he Bradley's man?
Yeah. And
I don't know, just before the game, of a game of this magnitude, you'd expect Slot to make that sort of thing a bit clearer.
Yeah.
So from a tactical perspective, I think this was one of the worst of the season. I don't actually think it was a 3-0. If you look at the actual chances that were created by the teams. Like, City scored 2 from outside the box, one was deflected, one was a worldie. And Haaland's goal, I'm not sure he even knows what day it is. It just bounces off his foot, doesn't it, and goes in.
when I seen that goal going, I was a bit like...
Yeah, so was I. I was like...
it just dropped in.
Yeah, so... and the penalty, I thought, was one of them as well, and Liverpool get a perfectly legitimate goal disallowed, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So, I thought it was a bit scandalous, to be honest.
Yeah, so it was a really unlucky game as much as it was bad.
Yeah.
And I think it felt worse than it actually was. Like, Haaland, I think, posted his lowest non-penalty XG in any game this season.
It was so weird. I think, for me, when I was watching the game, I was really surprised because, like, I thought you were really good against Real Madrid. Whether or not you can put that down to Real Madrid being a little bit stubborn themselves, sort of in the build-up. But I thought you played, let's just say this is Madrid and they've got played pretty much flat across the park. You played really, like, back to basics, really. Like, you had Szoboszlai sort of standing next to the centre forward, and he was sort of marshalling Tchouaméni. If Tchouaméni dropped in, he'd cover there, but then if the ball goes, he'd step out, and it just looked a little bit better. And I think the timings of the fullbacks you were mentioning before, like against City, when the fullback or the winger was dropping out from the fullback, he didn't know which man was picking that up. It felt pretty crystal clear against Madrid, and I'm thinking, you can say what you want about Real Madrid, but that is one of, if not Europe's top 5, 6, 7 teams, you know what I mean, on form at the moment. So I thought it was really, really, you know, positive, that result. I thought the Villa game was a little bit different because I thought Villa sort of played into, you know, your hands a little bit with the build-up, and I think Madrid did sort of the same. But yeah, I thought the City game, there's definitely something in Liverpool playing at home in comparison to playing away.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
I think you've gone conservative, yes, but in a way that is, you understand it, but you don't usually see it of a title team. It feels like when you go to grounds now, it feels like even though you're the reigning champions, I think everyone's already aware that, like, something's not working. So Slot in his own head is sort of going with that more reserved approach. And against City, I thought it was almost trying to get away with little patches in the game where it weren't good. I think as well is, like, in your press, it was very, very narrow, and it let the fullback sort of have that free roam on the outside, which I just thought, he is trying to protect the middle, but surely if you're wanting to go there and win.
The clip that I was talking about as well, you had O'Reilly down here, and you had Doku, and Doku drifts into that, you know, space of uncertainty if you want. Bradley doesn't know where to go with him, and Doku receives the ball and just turns and feeds O'Reilly here, and then they're in the attacking half the pitch then. So yeah, it was really easy. I think at Anfield lately, past 2 games, Liverpool have almost played with the chest out, quite a bold performances and pressing the likes of Real Madrid really high. It was a bit more man for man, I'd say, but it was a high press. I'd say against City, it just felt a bit more passive. It felt a bit more like
it felt like a lower end. Do you know what I mean? Like go in there, like especially in the approach. And I know I'm not gonna praise Iriola because they went there and they lost. But even a Bournemouth went there and sort of went, we could try and have a go.
Yeah,
Instead of playing in between, we can try and have a go.
Yeah,
I'm not praising them because they did lose.
Yeah,
but I thought
a few years ago, Liverpool went to the Etihad and they were going through a little bit of a period of, where City can just dominate the ball under Guardiola. It happens, doesn't it? And
yeah.
The camera pans to Klopp on the side, and Klopp kind of beat at his chest like a gorilla or something, and shouted, "Be brave." As in, like, you need to have the confidence to play in these games against these teams. And I felt like Liverpool went into it a little bit fearful almost, a little bit focused on preventing the opposition, stopping the opposition, not really playing themselves. But then, in that sense, again, the actual stopping the opposition part where you're pressing high, or you're pressing at all, it was just a bit more, a bit passive, a bit pathetic.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting how, for anyone who didn't see this, basically Slot said after his games against Madrid, I think it was, that he wants his team, against Madrid especially, he wanted to either press on the front foot completely, or if they didn't have the ball in between, they wanted to sit in completely low. Like against City,
I thought you'd do the same, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was just thinking, well, you've come off 2 wins, bearing in mind they are at home, but they're against 2 very good outfits at the moment. Villa are on fire at the moment. Real Madrid top of La Liga. And yeah, it just felt like against Madrid, it was either press high or sit 4-4-2 like this. And Salah, I was actually amazed in the Madrid game because I was seeing Salah stood right next to the right back, and it was quite obvious that it was a tactical instruction to have this really, really compact low block, restricting anything between the lines when the other team had the ball. But then when Madrid were in build-up, it was full throttle, lock on, Szoboszlai right at the top of it, letting Salah stay higher if they won the ball. And it felt like that just kind of went out the window against City. And I think...
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of hesitation in there. There was a lot of, like, as I said, being torn between 2 different posts. And are we sitting deep? Are we pressing high? Is that your man? Is that my man?
Yeah.
It really was messy. And as I said before, tactically, it was a bad one for Slot, I think. I don't think the actual product at both ends was that bad. I think both teams posted something like 0.7 XG, I think, non-penalty. But the actual makeup of the game between both boxes, there was only one team ever really going to dominate this game, and that was Man City.
Yeah. How much do you actually really think that this is a Slot issue, player issue?
Liverpool have been all over the place all season, really.
Yeah.
And the last 2 games building up to this one were good. Yeah. Liverpool dominated both games, kept 2 clean sheets, didn't really give away anything. I think it was like 0.4 expected goals in both games. Proper deserved performances with Robertson back in the team, Szoboszlai back in the 10. You get 90 minutes of it on the left and it looks fine. Bradley's at right back. The only 2 new players in the team with the goalkeeper, because Alisson was injured, and Ekitike up front, really. So I thought, right, he's probably going to do the same at the Etihad. He pretty much does.
Yeah.
But it looked a lot worse. I don't really know what happened. I honestly expected a lot better.
I know.
I was on the cusp of saying we're back, but after this game, no, absolutely not.
Well, I was just telling you before we come here, we were planning on doing a video that if Liverpool won, I thought the last 2 games were sort of a mirror image of last season tactically from sort of the clear identity aspect of them. I thought they were good enough performances to go, I think Liverpool are actually sort of breaking back into it. And then you come here and you look completely like just
scared,
confused and scared and naive and just really like passive. And that's what gets me, the passiveness, especially in a game where Arsenal have dropped the points.
Yeah.
It's between you 2 now to probably go on the front foot and actually, close the gap to them. But
the passive stuff is interesting though, because one thing I will say is on the back of Klopp leaving and Slot coming in, one thing he did introduce that we didn't really do in the Jurgen was just a bit more of a passive press, a bit more of a willingness to retreat, form a bit of a block. And we did it at the Etihad last season and won 2-0. But we scored the opener from a set piece and we held the lead, obviously. So it's a little bit different. Away at PSG, we won the game 1-0. We had two shots.
Barely any of the ball as well.
Honestly, we got battered, absolutely battered. So the passive thing at times has been praised.
Yeah.
It's this season. It's not working as well, and I think some supporters are a bit keen for Slot to almost drop the +1 at the back.
Yeah.
Push one of them forward and go for man and be a bit more, bit more like that. But he has got that slight hint of conservatism, maybe. I don't know if that's what you call it, defensive. I don't know. But he's a really offensive coach, though. But
Yeah, I think one thing I'll speak about, probably one of the last things I'll speak about, is I think Liverpool have got a really interesting conundrum now where I think Dominic Szoboszlai has to play the closest to the forward line to probably get his best use. I think he's been probably Liverpool's best player this season. And I think he can play sort of next to the 9-out possession. He probably can play in the middle. I think I watched a clip of him the other day talking about sort of his role with Curtis Jones in there when he played Frankfurt away and sort of the differences when he plays there. And he did say something along the lines of when he plays here, it's a bit harder to jump and have someone behind him to cover. So I definitely think that this right here, or if you wanted to set it up in like a 4-2-3-1 as they play, I definitely think he does suit playing a little bit behind the number 9.
Yeah, I agree.
But then it poses the question of where does £125 million Florian Wirtz go into the team, and then he goes on the left. And I think I've got a stat here that says successful take-ons that have led to a goal, and this is sort of talking about sort of again the makeup of the squad and what it looks like on paper, especially in the attacking areas. Liverpool had 12 goals last season that came from a successful take-on. There's only 1 goal this season that's been made off a successful take-on. So yeah, I think there's a problem now, Liverpool, where if they do play in that in-between bit where they want to go a little bit more direct, I don't think Florian Wirtz... I actually said, and I know me and you maybe have different opinions on this, I said that Florian Wirtz, when he signed for Liverpool, would play left wing immediately. Like, I thought he'd just start there. And I thought with the legs he'd get around him with like a Kirkes, I thought he would simply play inside like this. Kirkes would come around the outside and he would just sit in here. Now you've got Ekitike, who plays like holding hands with
I've made this point.
And it clashes.
Let's put Isak on there for the laugh as well.
Yeah, it just clashes there. Like everyone sort of wants to be left space heavy, but then there's a massive tactical problem now because if you look at that and you've just got Salah on the right on his own,
you've also bought Frimpong.
Yeah. So it's like the balance of the team just looks really off. And again, I don't think this is much of a coaching point. I think it is more of a squad building point where it looks bad. Yeah,
I agree, and that's why I would love to know how much of a say Arne Slot's had in this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make a lot of sense. You've signed good individual players, right? And if you want to sell each of them individually in January, there'll be a market for the lot of them because they're all really good players.
Yeah.
But as a unit, what on earth was the plan? It's hard to, and I think the problem is some people, mostly online people, are calling for Arne Slot to be sacked. But the problem is...
What does someone else do with that?
Exactly. So even if he's to blame, this is a crucial point, even if he's to blame for this, right, that doesn't mean that sacking him is the solution, though.
No.
Because you're already here. You've made these decisions.
Yeah.
These players are on 5-year contracts. So whoever you get in to replace him is going to be presented with the same weird... top-heavy dynamic with the squad.
Yeah.
And it's... So, like, I did a video recently with someone who pointed out, like, square pegs, round holes. Slot keeps playing square pegs and round holes, but...
He's been dealt a hand with that, though.
Well, exactly. So you can't play a team of... You've got to have some round holes.
Yeah.
You've got to have some players behind the ball.
Yeah.
And he's playing someone like a Kirkes behind the ball who wants to be there on the byline and that.
Because I think looking at last season, it's quite evident that Szoboszlai was making up for Salah sort of cheating out of possession. So he was playing sort of on the right, let Salah stay higher, and he was pressing and jumping out right behind the number 9. He was top of their pressing shape. If we just put it back, he was top of their pressing shape. Well, left back over there.
Yeah.
With the number 9, he was just sat right behind, and he was actually the one jumping out and engaging. So it's quite evident that. For the press to maintain, he'd have to stay there.
Yeah, I think Szoboszlai's got to stay there.
That's what I mean. And then so then you go Wirtz, all right, we're going to go left wing. All right, but now we've lost Diaz, a runner, and now we've got a more ball to feet player. Who's going to give you the runs? Ekitike, maybe, but then who's going to fire him from behind? And it feels to me that, don't get me wrong, you said it before, it's only 11 games in the Premier League. They could do something that's completely different. They could go to a diamond like some people are maybe asking him to. But for me, it feels very, very stodgy in there, and it feels like it is square pegs in round holes, but I also feel like that's the kind of hand he's been dealt. We did a poll.
He's only got square pegs.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
We did a poll just for everyone watching, so I just wanted to get like sort of a Liverpool fan opinion on this, and we did a poll whether or not you are sort of slot in, slot out, and it's 60-40 at the moment after 4,000 votes, I think, in favour of sort of slot in. But I think a 40% on slot out is quite a size. I think if you did that for Amorim in like a couple of weeks ago, it'd have probably been that as well, which is seriously damning for a title-winning coach at the moment. But I think a lot of people are asking for sort of these changes. Apart from, if Szoboszlai's got to play here, the only thing that I can really think of, and I'm not even sure if this is an idea, is to maybe go to one sitter and two ahead. That's the only thing that I think maybe could work, because then you could probably get Szoboszlai and Wirtz inside. You're gonna have to give someone a role in the midfield who's gonna have to be isolated on their own. And if they're gonna play this, maybe that can work. But I still feel like the squad makeup overall doesn't suit the 4-2-3-1 of Slot.
I don't really think it suits much though.
No,
I think that's the problem. Like if you're playing with Szoboszlai there, like you got to bear in mind when Liverpool are pressing high and things like that. One of the things we've touched on is the fact that he keeps the +1 at the back.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna be outnumbered with your press, that's another reason to have Szoboszlai here, because he can do the run of two men. So in addition to being that cheat code when it comes to pressing, he's also covering Salah, who doesn't defend. So he really does have to stay there.
Yeah, he does.
So, but I hate Wirtz on the left.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, to be fair, I don't mind it when Liverpool are dominating the ball and it's at home and things like that.
And he could just naturally just stand there all the time.
Yeah, but my concerns with it, I think, was shown at the Etihad, where he might receive the ball here and he's just not an outlet.
Yeah.
And so like he has to come backwards, and you can't really escape like Liverpool used to escape with Salah and Mane, where you're in the box in 2 seconds and stuff. So honestly, a lot of the players that he's bought, I would love to sit down with him and say, what you buying for me? Because like I can't really get my head around what the plan was, apart from obsessing over low blocks to the extent that Richie Hughes goes and buys him loads of weapons to solve it. But other than that, I mean, if Szoboszlai's so key there, he loves Szoboszlai, absolutely loves him.
Yeah,
and he is our player of the season by a mile so far. But if that's the case, why have you bought Wirtz? Wirtz takes that spot, and he did take that spot in the start of the season. And I was in favour of it, because I thought that the kind of player that Florian Wirtz is, he's like an advanced pivot in a weird sort of way.
Because he drops in all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's like having Rodri, but in the final third. He gets so many touches, links with his first touch with players around him and stuff. Really good in pockets of space, passes forwards, good at passing into the box, can dribble, although we haven't seen any of it in England yet.
No.
So I thought Slot would kind of give him the keys to the attack, and he'd be a little bit Firmino for us. Not necessarily in the false nine sense, but in the sense that everything runs through him.
Yeah, he'd be the second assist to every goal type of player.
He dictates the rhythm of the attacks.
Yeah.
He accelerates the game when it's right to do so. He slows it down when it's right to do so. But we just haven't really been able to absorb him as a player. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot in there.
Is that where you look at Slot and you go, for people who are actually saying that he should go, it's like, don't get me wrong, like, we're football fans, and I do watch a lot of football, and I'm trying to like think of what he could change. And apart from going to a free midfield, which, as you just said there, if you're already playing a +1 in the defence, this is already an issue if these players aren't stepping out. So that's already an issue if you play one in the pivot. But apart from changing to that, the only other solution is maybe going to a completely narrow formation and dropping Salah, which that'll ruffle some feathers.
it'll inspire the media as well.
Yeah, it'll give the media what they want, really. But it's just like, I don't really know what another coach... Say you've got the most pragmatic coach in Europe who changes his formation every game to suit the players he's got out on the pitch. I don't know what that Liverpool team currently could play that would be the best to get Szoboszlai at the top of the shape, which is an absolute necessity for when you want to play high, to get Salah close enough to goal, to get enough defenders in the back line who are comfortable in build-up to break the press.
Well, that's another thing. I've seen a lot of people touch on go to a back three. We've got 3 centre-backs. so they'd all be on the pitch at the same time.
Yeah.
If one of them gets injured, that's out the window.
Yeah.
So, and Joe Gomez gets injured, by the way, so...
Like Robertson, left centre-half.
Maybe.
We're clutching at straws, but that is where we're going, though.
This is why, though, I'm going to say I have sympathy for Slot. I lose sympathy if he's bought all these guys, and it's his... Yeah. But I have sympathy for him because I look at it and think, where'd you go with it? What do you do? There's always someone out of position. There's always someone behind the ball when he wants to be ahead of you.
There's always someone doing a job for someone else, isn't there? There's always a player on the pitch who's been put there, and they've been put there because another person's in their spot or something like that. Was there ever talk of getting a midfielder? Do you know, like an actual...
No, not really.
Was there never a talk of that?
Not really. That was a question initially when we signed Wirtz, but I just thought, right, you've signed Wirtz for that then. Szoboszlai now becomes an option here. And McAllister gets more breaks than he did last season. Gravenberch gets more breaks than he did last season, and you go from there. But it hasn't really turned out that way because they've all been fit for the season. McAllister's lacked a bit of sharpness, but they've all been fit. So you've had to pick a best team, but you want Szoboszlai on the pitch. So Szoboszlai's played like here. Yeah. At times he's played there, you know. So it's kind of all over the place. But yeah, if you get another coach and if you get another manager in, he is presented with the same squad makeup. So as mad as it sounds, because Liverpool have just spent 400 odd million, it feels a bit like a transfer window fix where you need to balance the squad out with a few different profiles because it's really offensive at the moment. Yeah.
So it's not crisis talk yet.
I would have no interest in sacking him until at the very earliest the end of the season. Right. Unless, obviously, he goes and loses 1 million games in a row. That's a bit different.
And you drop into the relegation.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. But I think the idea of changing a manager, I think, is massively overplayed. I don't think it generally does that much. And I don't look at it and think there's an obvious solution that he's not using. Yeah. It's worth saying as well, a key point. When Liverpool were last in a position like this, where the squad was a bit weird and you had to find a tactical solution, it was Klopp who was in charge, and he needed until April to find that solution. And Linders found it, not Klopp. Yeah. It was Trent coming inside. Yeah. It had a massive impact on our defensive stability, and I think the final 10 games of that season we went unbeaten. Yeah, I remember you going to Ellen Road and when he was in midfield, it was unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. Brilliant. Yeah, but that took a long time for Jurgen Klopp, who some people want back, to find the solution for that. So
let the man rest.
yeah, exactly. But even the great one took a long time to find the solution when the squad's a bit weird.
It's not like he's not changing though, is it?
No, he's having a go.
He's done the 4-4-2 stuff. He's dropped Szoboszlai into midfield. He put Szoboszlai right back. He's tried Wirtz at 10, Wirtz at left wing. He's played Isak and Ekitike on the same pitch at the same time.
I think what he's found the past week is the closest, without question,
which
to
is going back to...
Yeah, but that's the problem. The problem is he's now stumbled across something that half works, and it consists of all of us new fellas down here on the bench. Yeah. So that's not a solution really, is it? That's a temporary fix. You know, you've plugged the gap a little bit, but how do you make it work with Kerkers there, with Frimpong there, with Wirtz somewhere on the pitch, Ekitike somewhere on the pitch, maybe Isak somewhere on the pitch? You got to keep Salah happy as well. You can't drop Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai's ideally got to play high in the press, so you don't want him dropping deeper. All the best.
All the best. Just before we wrap up, what is the expectation now?
For me?
In the season finish?
I think I would deal on 4th.
Would you?
Yeah. Because for me, there's no real difference in finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Yeah. So I think there's more of a threat at the moment, almost, to finish 6th than likelihood that we finish 1st. Right. So I would deal on 4th. The Champions League is a bit of a saving grace, though. I think this Champions League, we've actually looked good in.
Yeah.
We beat Frankfurt 5-1. We battered Atletico Madrid for the first half at least. We beat Real Madrid as well. Galatasaray was a bit of a weird one, but that's a mad place to go anyway. So, and Wirtz has looked at home in the Champions League. Yeah, a bit less physical maybe. Fewer long throws and stuff like that. So I think Liverpool, if they get what we saw against Villa and Madrid established, I think they could have a decent Champions League season. But in the Premier League, I think Liverpool are going to keep. I think we'll win more than we lose, but I think they will just be the odd little random loss that's thrown in there that drops people's heads, and there'll be a lot of false dawns, I think.
Brilliant. That's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for watching, and let us know where you stand on Liverpool under Arne Slot this season. And we'll see you again next time on the Overlap Breakdown. Thank you very much.